Final segment of ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. This is the For the Culture segment. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and culture. And I think, this was, when you sent me this one, T, I think this was one of the things where I thought that it was very fitting, and you explained why it was fitting. You didn't need to, but I always appreciate you when you point out certain things. And I was just like, oh yeah, she really want to talk about this, because the story about Tarik Cohen, I believe, is just super duper fascinating. And to kind of give you, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's an article on Players Tribune, and he kind of writes a letter to his younger self. And he goes into some of the big events that happened in his life, and he starts off by talking about the decision he had to make when his mom was raising three boys, single parent, had to move, and he had established himself as a guy who was an up and coming football player, and as far as and I know how that is, like when you are in a space where you're getting recruited, you got some guys coming down to come check you out, and then next thing you know, boom, you transfer. Then you don't know what the situation with the coach is. You don't know what the situation with your teammates are. It's just so much that you have to deal with in order to stay on track, right? And what that track he was trying to stay on was to be able to go to school for free.
Yes.
And get that full ride, which he ended up doing. And when he went to the illustrious HBCU, North Carolina A&T. But I think where it really kind of just hit home for me is when there are so many things that he had to deal with and really just build up, I guess, a shield of, tapping into his emotions. So he can stay focused enough to get to the NFL. And I think that was one of the things that kind of just hit home for me, because it's just like, not that I, of course I didn't go to NFL, but I think that as football players, a lot of times it ain't no tapping into your emotions. You always have to kind of step outside yourself when you step onto the football field, on the practice field, when you go on a workout, when you go, going to, lift weights and practice and meetings and watching film, and because it's just so much that goes into at least being a decent football player.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just a solid player. And then just think about, how much you have to take those things that I just listed up to another level to even get to be considered for the NFL. So he, and I think, one of the things that kind of just let me sit down and I'll let you chime in. I think that when he questioned, when one of his brothers ended up passing away, he talked about, he went back to when he was 17 years old, and he had to make that decision to, to stay with one of his relatives versus moving with his mom and his two brothers. He questioned that, saying, like, maybe if I didn't move, if I would have moved, maybe my brother wouldn't even been in this situation where he ended up dying from just a freak accident. So I think that was one of the things that kind of hit home for me. And I think that it's a thing where, like, the mental, I guess, jousting that you have to go into when it comes to being a football player. I think that a lot of people don't really know about that, and I think that's something that was really pointed out in this article.
Right. And we're very fortunate that we still have Tarik here with us to give us this message. And I apologize, Jarvis, because it just came to mind, this person. So I apologize that I'm going to not remember his name, but the Georgia Tech recruit who died by suicide because he had basically remorse, player's remorse, in feeling like, wow, there's so much that I'm going to leave behind, and I'm going to have this great life ahead of me. Not, just staying the course just for a few more weeks, because I've always felt like if he could have only gotten to Georgia Tech just 3 weeks later and just spoken to somebody to tell him, man, you are the way out for everybody. So
Right.
yeah, you'll reap the benefits initially, and they'll have to maybe suffer a little while longer, but it'll all be, good in the end. So yeah, that balance, when you are tugged to and fro from all of those directions. I think you called it perfectly, mental jousting that individuals go through as athletes, and also as athletes whose potential talent and skill set will be the come up for an entire family and change an entire generation.
Right.
So all of those factors kind of weighed in, and just got to give a lot of credit to Derek Jeter for even coming up with this avenue for athletes to express themselves. I feel like every time I read something like this, it's very genuine, it's very authentic. And also for Tarik Cohen to just be this comfortable sharing with us, because I promise you, some kid out there, this is resonating with that kid in terms of encouraging that kid or allowing that kid to maybe be able to express himself or herself even earlier on. And then, like I said, thought about you and some of the challenges maybe that you had to go through when you were in that space. I think about my nephews, they're 13 and 12, they're athletes, and we're always trying to get them to talk through things and tell us what they're dealing with. And it's really like pulling teeth sometimes.
Yeah.
So I even said I was going to send this letter to
Yeah.
them, and we were going to have them read it and hopefully talk about it, because this is the type of thing where, God, I hate that this kid had to go through all of this.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
we both know that because we are believers, we are Christians. I'm sure you
Indeed.
heard us talk about
Yeah.
benedictions and that sort of thing.
No doubt. Of course.
Pray,
Yeah.
and that's what we do. But in our belief system, God does not waste any tragedies or challenges. And so one of the ways that he does not waste it and makes it useful is if you're able to prayerfully come through it, like Tarik has so far and had such great success in the NFL, is that it'll resonate with someone and maybe help them to avoid some of the pitfalls that maybe not so much he saw, but maybe some of his other family members.
And you know what? This is, a lot of times this generation, I think it's Z, X, Y, I can't reach, I think Generation Z, I think.
Those guys.
We'll go, those guys
guys.
behind me. This is one of the reasons why I commend this
No
generation.
question.
Because I know I was raised old school,
Yes.
with it,
Me
right?
too. Yeah.
Hey, men aren't supposed to cry. Like, I can literally count on a couple fingers how many times I've seen my pops cry. And, I grew up with my dad in my life, both my dad and my mom. And I think that, the one thing that I kind of felt like I was just a little bit ahead of the game was because my mom, kind of helped me tap into emotions and feelings and all that stuff. And not necessarily like I was going around crying all the doggone time, but I was able to feel
Yeah.
thing. You know what I'm saying? I can
And be
feel
okay with
things,
it.
and be okay with it. But I also had the other side of it too, coming from my pop. So it was a good balance. Now I think these guys are just really being open and being willing to talk about these things and saying, "Hey, man, it's okay to cry." Like Tarik Cohen sitting up there, and his other brother Dante, who ended up getting paralyzed because he got shot in the head. He was saying he didn't even want to cry in front of him. I was like, if there's any moment in life that it's okay to cry as a man, as a teenager, a young boy, however you want to refer to it, it's okay to cry if your brother's sitting laying on a hospital bed fighting for his life. Just think about how crazy that sounds.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to cry in front of my brother, so I'm gonna go out in the hallway and cry. Man, that is so powerful, man.
But here's a best kept secret. While not always relegated to athletes, Black women are taught to be strong. Like, I can remember at 7 being told, suck it up. Like, to this day, it's hard for me to cry in front of people. It's hard for me to show emotions and, deal with my feelings, because I was taught as well, like, no, you need to be strong. You need to focus on your grades and just, this is what you need to focus on, as opposed to focus on me as a human and evolving in my fullness. So hopefully this is a message to And like you said, I admire people like Naomi Osaka who just raised her hand, or Simone Biles, and said,
I can't do this no more.
yeah, I can't
At
do
least for
this.
the time being. Yeah.
Exactly. Time
Hey,
in.
look.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Back
I'm
out and
good.
you tap out and you be perfectly okay. And as we wrap up, we would just want you guys to know we appreciate you tapping in here, because for us, this is also, and I say this with all love and with all sincerity, this is Mental Health Awareness Month across the globe. And tapping into things like this that make you feel good, we make you smile, we make you laugh. We hope that we bring you a bit of joy in your life, and that you understand that, hey, whenever times get rough or times get tough, that you got somebody over here who's rooting you on, even if you don't know us, even if you've never met us. Just know that you got some fam over here that's always rooting for you and hoping that your mental is right and that you will be happy, healthy, and whole. And if you are that way, come on back tomorrow. And even if you're not that way, come back anyway. Maybe we can make you healthy, happy, and whole. As Jarvis and I'm sure Jarvis, among other things, tomorrow will be breaking all the way down that Falcon schedule in full effect.
Indeed. And we will also want to continue to throw out some thank yous for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And like you said, we'll have that full NFL Falcon schedule just for you. But we also want to ask you, we got one more favor. Listen closely. Make A to Z with Mark Zinner your second listen of the day, because he be spitting hot fire like Dylan. A to Z with Mark Zinner. Make sure you check him out as well. Like T said, we'll be talking full Falcon schedule. The Braves are off, so we'll be previewing that weekend schedule for the hometown team. Make sure you come back and rock with ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We'll see you tomorrow. Y'all come back now, you hear?